Today, we have one of the most revered B2B SaaS founder creators on LinkedIn. And in fact, more than half of season one guests on this podcast mention her as someone they follow and who is crushing it on LinkedIn. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce Alina Vandenberghe, the co-founder and CEO of Chili Piper. But first, before we get into her story, I want to share a little background. Prior to her current role as CEO, she held product management leadership roles at Thomson Reuters, Bloomberg, Pearson, all massive companies. She created their first mobile apps, and some of them were even demonstrated on stage by Steve Jobs in his famous Apple keynotes, which I think is pretty awesome. What entrepreneur or startup person doesn't love Steve Jobs? In 2016, she took the leap into entrepreneurship. She cashed in everything she had in the bank to bootstrap the calendar app we all now know as Chili Piper. Within a few years, Chili Piper proved to be a marketing powerhouse. And many great employee LinkedIn creators either got their start there or passed through. Folks like Michael Tuso, Arthur Castillo, Chelsea Castle, Andrea Wunderlich, Daniel Camila, Kaylee Edmondson, Brandon Redlinger. And I think it's even more if you count advisors and contractors who've done work for the brand. So that's really awesome. And around 2022, she started to invest in her own brand on LinkedIn, which was the effect of pouring gas on the fire. On LinkedIn, she's known for her raw and authentic takes on go-to-market, artificial intelligence, being a woman in tech. And when I say it's raw, it's not what you see on the corporate blog. No copy editors, not even Grammarly. And she gets deep into her personal life with parenting posts. One of my personal favorite posts of last year, she posted a video of her winning the Pavilion CEO of the Year award and brought her son on stage to accept the award. As a parent, I felt it was really touching. She's even waded into politics, and she was a collaborator in the Women in Tech for Harris movement. This approach resonated deeply with folks on LinkedIn. Today, she has over 30,000 followers, but more importantly, she's used LinkedIn to fuel the growth of Chili Piper. And in that time that she started investing heavily in LinkedIn, it rocketed from 10 million in ARR to over 30 million and over 45,000 users and almost unicorn valuation since she started posting actively. If that is not the definition of LinkedIn famous, I don't know what is. As a prolific creator, she's also got a book coming out soon, From Zero to Almost 1 Billion. And the last thing I'll add here, which is a funny and cosmic coincidence, today we are recording on February 27th. The show will come out in a few weeks. But today is not only Alina's birthday, but it's also mine too. So happy birthday to us. And with that in mind, let's welcome Alina to the LinkedIn Famous podcast. Welcome to the LinkedIn Famous podcast, the show where we get real about what it takes to build a personal brand on LinkedIn that gets real business results. We're talking about driving revenue from a personal LinkedIn profile by sharing real and authentic stories and points of view. I am Brad Zomick, your host and the founder of Spectrumer, a personal brand consultancy that helps founders and executives get LinkedIn famous. Join me for unfiltered conversations from the trenches of LinkedIn. We'll meet CEOs, go-to-market executives, subject matter experts, and company employees with blockbuster LinkedIn results. We'll unpack strategy and leave you with tactical advice to grow your personal brand and demand for your company's products and services. All right, LinkedIn hustlers, it's time to level up.
Happy birthday to us, Brad. What a privilege and an honor. Thank you for having me.
Happy birthday to us. I'm so happy to have you here. Is there anything in your background that I covered that you might want to double click on?
I think it's very unusual for someone like me to post on LinkedIn. I think there are many people who are good creators and they're good at storytelling, good at writing. But for me, it was very unexpected that I started to post because I was the technical geek who hates attention, hates anybody to look at me or pay attention to me. I was always comfortable in the corners, in the background, not looking people in the eyes. So for me, social media and posting on social media has been highly uncomfortable. It took me a long time to get used to it. It took me a long time to get the gist of it. So I think it's just unexpected that I started to post. That's something that I think a lot about. Or why? Like, why someone like me?
What sort of reframe did you have to go through, right? I mean, clearly you have to kind of shift some perspective to do something so far out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, there was fear of death and fear of being on a stage and talking to people. And social media gives you a stage of a big scale. I get posts that get 1 million views, and getting comfortable with that is still work in progress, I would say. But yeah, it was very scary for me to get started.
You wouldn't expect that from somebody such a prolific creator. So, is there anything you tell yourself in your head, as you're doing it day in, day out to kind of get you more comfortable with it? Historically, before, in the last few years, things have changed, but especially 10 years ago, most CEOs were more techie than go to market. So, what do you tell all those people who have that? There's so many people who have that, it's not me, you
It's not
know?
me, yeah, that's for sure. That was the story I was telling myself in 2021. It's not for me. I was telling my team, don't put me in front of um, journalists, don't put me on TV. I feel highly uncomfortable. Don't put me on stages because I'm not meant for it. And the change for me came in February 2022, where something deeply personal happened. The war in Ukraine started, and Ukraine is at the border with Romania. And I just felt, and I still get goosebumps just as I tell you, I felt so angry that it was all unfolding in front of me and there was nothing I could do about it. So I just went banana and I started creating a Google Doc with all the paths that the mothers and their children that were exiting the country to find shelter outside on the borders of Ukraine could access to figure out which border they could cross safely, whether there's food, whether there's shelter, whether there are bombs going through. So I started mapping all the possible routes, and all the small organizations that could help them with different things, like how should they get cash, what cash they can get, would they have blankets, what resources were available to them, can they get jobs when they get to another country. And that Google Doc got, I don't remember, like millions of people accessing it. And we started deploying, I started raising money. I put some of my money, we put $1 million in helping those moms crossing the borders. And I felt that social media was an amplifier of help. So all of a sudden, I felt comfortable with going and talking on Bloomberg, on CNN. I don't even remember which publication I spoke at that time. But because I had so much conviction that I wanted to help, like something broke inside of me and I got strength to use my voice to do something positive, to do something to help. And since then, I felt fearless. I felt, look, I can do something. I can change things if only I allow my voice to pierce through. And I no longer felt fearful.
So it sounds like the big reframe for you was that it's not necessarily about you being on stage, look at me. It's about I can use this as a platform to help so many different types of people in so many different types of ways, inside the workplace and outside.
Precisely. It was about the positive impact that I can have if I use my voice. And I said, fuck, I'm actually doing myself damage if I don't use the voice. I'm not using the potential of my voice to make change happen. So I started feeling guilty for the opposite, for sitting silent.
Wow. Well, it's been a game changer for you. I always like to ask this question. What is something about yourself that the audience couldn't learn from you, from your LinkedIn profile or what you post in the feed?
My feed is a little bit weird in that I don't have like a long-term plan of, okay, this is what I'm going to post in February. This is what I'm going to post in March. I have certain themes that I go with, but every week my emotion is palpable. If I'm having a hard time, you'll see that I'm having a hard time. If I'm extremely happy, you'll see that I'm extremely happy. So my emotion comes through exactly how it happens inside of me. And I don't try to repress things. If I feel extremely sad, I will post that I'm extremely sad. If I feel extremely angry, I will post that I feel extremely angry. And it's very tricky and very risky that I do those things because everybody on social media tries to present themselves in the best light. Everything is wonderful. We're all success. I'm so successful. Here, pay $200 to get my course because I'm doing so great. my fear is that if I only post about the things that are going well, I do myself I do my audience an injustice, because then they put themselves at high standards as well. They think, oh, all these people around me are perfect, then I should be perfect too. And then they create this kind of internal dialogue inside of themselves that I don't think is helpful. So my goal is to normalize being normal, normalize being imperfect.
I love that. And I think it reminds me of the Lego movie. You have children, and there's that one part where they're like, everything is awesome. And the truth is, it's not, right? And especially what's going on in the world today. Everything is not awesome, right? And, maybe that's why people resonate with this approach of wearing your emotions on your sleeve. Do you think, that there's something to that strikes a chord in the audience?
For sure, life is a roller coaster in general. Life in SaaS is extreme. Life of a CEO is even more extreme, because there's a lot more pressure on myself to make all the right decisions at all times. And so people keep me at even higher standards than they keep themselves on. And as a result, my life is just a series of high impact events, because every decision that I make can have a lot of repercussions. And it's tricky, because we all have this admiration for muses ahead of us. We all look above at other people who we think that they're perfect and they might inspire us. So it's very sad to see that our heroes might be going through hard times. It's very hard to see that our heroes make mistakes. But I continue to show these imperfections inside of me, because I think us holding our heroes to high standards is doing damage to our heroes and is doing damage to ourselves also.
Yeah, that's a great point. I'm curious. So you mentioned you kind of have a system. It's a system, but it's not a system. There's no long range planning. You post what's on your mind. I think also you just stumbled into it. There was no plan. Like many people these days are like, I'm going to start doing Founder Brand. I'm going to read the book by Dave Gerhardt, and I'm going to go through a positioning exercise, and I'm going to come up with themes and post content. As things wore on and you kind of internalized, it went from something you were doing to something, oh, this is having an impact on the business. Were there any challenges or as you started doing this, and how did you even find time in the day to do it as a busy CEO?
I love Dave Gerhardt, and I read his book, and I think it's amazing. I don't remember when I read it though, but when I got started, my mission was very simple. I would just learn to post. That's all was at the beginning. I would just learn to click the damn publish button, because that's like the hardest thing. And you post things that are going to be very bad at the beginning, and nobody will resonate, and you're going to get 2 likes and you're going to get 2 comments, and you feel like everything you post is not good enough. At least that's how I felt. But my goal was just to learn to post. And I couldn't get myself into that mode until I said, you do not have to post for an audience. You just have to post to yourself in a younger version, like 2 to 3 years ago. What would you have loved to hear from Alina in the future? What would you like Alina from the future to transmit back to you? And every day I would have this learning, this deep learning about something. And I said, oh, Alina from the past would definitely be interested in this topic. So I would just write and learn how to write about that particular topic. And I observed that I would have these kind of insights that I would like to transmit to myself late in the evening. They would come around 9 p.m. after I would put my kids to sleep. And I would just write it down on my phone in my notes app. And in the morning, around 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock, I would post it. I would have a long list of things. Sometimes I would feel like nothing is worth posting because everything was not that great. And Alina would not be very happy if I would transmit it to her. Or sometimes I would have many topics. And at 9 a.m., if it still made sense to me, I would write it in a LinkedIn post. I would publish it. I would learn. I would see who's resonating to it, why they would resonating. And I made it a mission to also post my insights and ask about insights from my audience. Do they also feel the same? Did they find something different? Are they observing a different learning from the same activity? So I started engaging with my audience to make my ideas and my thoughts better. And as a result, I kept learning. I became thirsty with curiosity what would my audience think of this? What would they think of this? Would they think it's the right approach? Is it the wrong approach? Am I thinking about it wrong? And involving the audience as I had those insights was unlocked for me, because I wasn't posting just to get clicks or likes. I was posting to learn, and my audience was learning with me. And it was just like beautiful community kind of, it felt like truly a community that learns together in my space.
That is fantastic. There's a couple of nuggets in there that I want to unpack. One thing I love that you kind of, I guess as they say, shorten the goalposts, like made something easy to achieve and not make it this big project that's like really hard just to get over the first step, then put the next foot in front of you. I love that you just started just do this for yourself and you see what resonates and eventually how it became all about curiosity. Would you say where it evolves to today is almost, do you think of it like put on your product manager hat? Do you think of this a little bit in a way that of how you might ship product? You know, ship fast, learn, iterate?
I never thought about it that way. When I would build product, I would try to get into the shoes of my users and my audience to see what would move them, what would get them to engage. And I would imagine that I might have had a similar approach to it now that I look back, in that a post is like a product that thrives if there's engagement, and there is engagement if there's validation or value into what you're posting out there. And this process of learning with your audience and just like click the publish button and just learn and learn and learn with curiosity is what made the posts get better. If I would have to start again from scratch right now, and I would start using like a lot of ChatGPT to create my posts based on some other samples, and it's like, write like, this is a template, and write another one about this particular topic with a strong hook or whatever other prompt I would use in ChatGPT, I don't think I would have learned as much as I did on my own, because it taught me how to find the right kind of insights, how to find the kind of nuggets that would resonate to people, and ChatGPT is not very good at that. So the process in itself, the post and learn and post and learn and post and learn, made me a better writer. I'm not a perfect writer by any chance. Like, I write with spelling mistakes. My hooks are not always that great. But it taught me how to distill nuggets of information and ideas in a way that other people resonate. And I'm super grateful that now I have that skill. Super grateful.
Ultimately, it's all about that feedback loop, right?
Exactly.
And that's in a way similar to product management. I noticed too, you're pretty active in the comments. How do you clearly have a good system and approach for writing. You have your 9 o'clock slot every night. You kind of have this mishmash of ideas that are there, and then you let your emotion and intuition guide you. But I do see that you're active, and it's not just your writing. Number one, where do you find the time for that? And how do you handle that?
I actually measure how much time I spend on LinkedIn every day, and it's less than 30 minutes. So it's not that much time, even though it might appear that way from outside. I look and I can show you the data. It's less than 30 minutes. The reason why I think that I appear more active than you think that I am is because most people, when they go on their phone, they go to either Instagram or they go to Twitter or they go to whatever habits that they have on their phone. Me, whenever I have a chance to stay for a second, I just log in, I make a comment on somebody else's post or on my post. But it's a fast, quick in and quick out, and I'm super fast typer. My husband is blown away when he sees when I produce documents or posts. It takes me less than 5 minutes to write a post, and I can write 10 comments in like 5 minutes or even maybe more of them. I write super fast, and because it's become a habit to write and because it's become a habit to write comments, I don't think about it anymore. I don't overthink it. I don't try to come up with something clever in the comment. It's just like it became mechanical. So everything doesn't require effort. So to me, it's super pleasant, super easy, and it doesn't take time at all.
That's pretty impressive. I've talked to a couple of other big creators that you're probably friendly with, like Sam and Adam, and it
They
seems
spend
like,
much more hours than me.
yeah. Well, you
But
make
they're
it look
doing better also. They're doing better than me.
better is in the eye of the beholder. It seems like things are going pretty well for you too. So don't sell yourself short. As a parent and someone who cares about what's going on in the world, I saw all the stuff that you were posting last year, and those were some of my favorite posts. I engaged with some of them, and yeah, so like wondering how kind of you went through that kind of thought process of like just maybe just getting crossing the Rubicon straight out of the business world into parenting and politics, which for many people are kind of taboo. So what was your mindset there?
I definitely provoke a lot in my posts with things that people feel mostly uncomfortable to post about. I want to frame something. First, I'm not active on other platforms. I tried TikTok, I tried X. It's very hard for me to be a creator in these other platforms. So I figured I'd just stick to one. So the focus on one makes me understand the platform really well. The second strategy that I have is that I don't try to create posts just for the sake of posts. I keep my competitive advantage, which is I keep myself as I am, and I only post about things that make me, me. And it's very hard for anybody else to replicate to be Alina.
Tell me about it.
So it's whatever is very active and alive in me. It's what gets posted. And if I feel very strongly about something that happens in the political world, or I feel something very strongly that happens in my business, or something that happens with my customers at large, those are the topics that I post. I don't go with talk to you about the B2B demand gen conversation. I do some topics that are highly related to my business, but only in the context of me having a realization or me having some strong emotion around it. So you'll only see things that are alive in me, that are making me me. So I think that's the reason why you're seeing certain things in there that are harder to tackle online, especially around politics. I talk a lot about DEI, even though it's a dirty word these days. Yeah, so I just talk about what's alive inside of me, and I feel comfortable with taking the risk of doing that.
Well, it's certainly paid off, and I think things are changing a lot. Well, just in general on the parenting thing, LinkedIn and all the people on it grow up a little bit. I would say it's fair game now. And when we talk about the politics, I think starting in 2017, there was a crash course waiting to happen. And it's just like more and more gas has been poured on the fire in the last 4 years. And now it's just full on LA forest fires. I think the gloves are off and on both sides, but that stuff resonates with people. There is a big question if it attracts the right people who are going to buy from you. That there's needs to be some balance there, right? Do you think about that? Do you balance the personal versus the business?
There's definitely a balance, and I received feedback from my employees. So my employees are on all sorts of, they're on both sides of the spectrum on the political front. I have Democrats, I have Republicans, and I managed to keep an open conversation with them on the different sides of the spectrum without alienating any side of it. And I definitely lean on the left side. So I definitely post things that are on closer to the Democrats in many of the values. So my Republican employees felt very uncomfortable with me taking such strong stances on that front. And they called me out, hey, Alina, you're distracting. And maybe some customers could be as aligned as we are on the Republican side. And you might distract us from creating pipeline or God knows what. And my answer back was that whenever I post something, even if it's strong and alive in me on one side of the camp, I always bring some perspective in saying that I don't have any judgment for anybody who thinks differently than me. I understand that there's a different opinion. I only try to explain why I might have a different view with the expectation that there's some patience and some compassion towards my views and a curiosity that the other side of the aisle might want to know why I might have different views. And I have the same curiosity towards their side, because if I understand better their side, I can become a better human myself. So I had a lot of phone calls with a lot of Trump supporters. A lot of women were respecting of my choice, and I made a lot of friendships on both sides of the aisle. So I felt that I was encouraging them to share their own views as well. They could post about why they feel so strongly to vote Republican in this campaign, what was alive in them, what was important, with the idea that they might be open-minded, that their views might be wrong, or that their views might be viewed differently by other people. And the more we feel the courage to express our views, the more we might learn something in the process.
I like that. And I think that's a pretty diplomatic approach and classy way to take it. I talked a little bit about the impact on the business. Do you want to share a little bit more how else your investment in LinkedIn has affected Chili Piper?
Yes, we do measure that. So the way we do it is we take my posts and we scrape engagement and we de-anonymize it. So we see engagement from certain accounts. We don't look at engagement per person, we look at engagement per account. And then it's a manual process, but we pull the accounts from my post with AI agents, we get the account, and then we track that against open opportunities in Salesforce. And we see that right now, 49% of my posts have influence over open opportunities.
That is impressive. And I think there's been multiple stats in the last year. I don't have any handy, but something to the tune of well over 50% or maybe even 70% of buyers prefer to buy from a brand where the CEO is active on LinkedIn.
It's crazy. It's crazy. I feel so much pressure.
You're doing something right if you're having influence like that. And I think you're also probably light years ahead of measurement. You can't quantify things like the attraction of opportunities for marketing and press and talent and investment. How else has your investment on LinkedIn affected the business?
The company? So the first one is the direct contribution to pipeline in the open opportunities, but there's something else that's a lot more valuable that might not be as visible, which is my understanding of the market improved with my posts, because my audience is marketers, and I took the role of a CMO about 2 years ago and tried to understand their pains better, try to understand what they're experiencing, feel the pressure myself of creating pipeline and all of those things. And I was trying to learn how to do my job better. And I would keep posting, this is what I'm doing. What do you think? Is it the right approach? I'm cutting this. Is that a good idea? This is what I'm getting from other marketers at dinners. Do you see the same? And whenever I would post a question, I would get answers. And that would improve my understanding of the market. So it would help me understand how to create better landing pages, better product, how to respond to my customers, how to do enablement. So it has heavily impacted my strategy for the company because I was learning with my audience.
I think it's also something that is often overlooked, the feedback loop, right?
Exactly.
And how that can affect, it basically feeds product marketing so much. And honestly, ever since I started doing these conversations, my whole worldview on how LinkedIn should be done has evolved too. It's so powerful, maybe the most powerful thing.
We started posting taglines like, which one should there be a tagline? How we should position ourselves? Is that a good idea? Is it a bad idea? And I would get some amazing feedback. That's the way we came up with demand conversion platform. That's the way we top revenue teams use Chili Piper. It was like all coming from my audience mostly.
Wow, you basically have your own platform like Winter. You don't need Winter. You can just do all the message testing.
We use Winter. I love that. Yeah, we use Winter as well.
Yeah, he's great. Awesome. Continue on impact. So clearly it's been profound effect on the business. What about your life?
I would say that there's an impact on my personal life, but before I get to it, there's something that has happened because I started to post and going to in-person events. People recognize me at the events, and because they recognize me, they come to me to have conversations. I don't have to go and go out of my way to meet people. And as a result, I started forming a very strong network support around me. I probably know most of the people that you interviewed on here, but not only that, I'm at text basis with them. Mm-hmm. I started to form a relationship with a lot of my audience as well, also on a text basis. And in the process, some of these people also became my friends. So we hang out together. Like, for instance, last week, I'll show you, I organized a CEO party. Let me see if I find a picture. I guess not everybody who listens to the podcast would see it.
They're watching the podcast.
So you see, a lot of these people are my friends.
Having fun on the boat. That looks great.
Yeah.
I can't see who they are, but I'm sure they're amazing
I'll keep
people.
their anonymity. Anonymity. Anonymity.
It's challenging to go out and walk up to people, so people just come to you.
Mm.
And it sounds like they're pretty cool people also.
Yes, I feel super lucky. I went from being a geek with no friends to having a support network around me, and for the first time, I think in my life, I no longer feel lonely, which is a big difference.
Wow. And
Mm.
let me ask you this, is there any like wild or unexpected thing that's happened because of you attract a lot of attention. Obviously everyone knows you now. Kind of creates these new opportunities, sometimes good, sometimes completely unexpected. Anything in that vein?
I think that there are a lot of benefits. What I did not expect is also the drawbacks of it. For instance, people approach me at events and there's this what's called a parasocial relationship where they know a lot about you and me, I know nothing about them. And it creates this imbalance in knowledge and it feels a bit awkward and I feel a bit destabilized when I'm talking to them. They know how many kids I have, they know where I live, they know what emotional turmoil I might go through, and I know nothing about them. And sometimes I see so many people that I don't remember that I might have seen them before, and I feel completely bad that I don't remember their faces or I don't remember their names. So I have this imbalance in conversations for sure, and I feel often very uncomfortable with it that I did not expect because I didn't know there was such a thing as parasocial relationship. And this other thing that I also feel that is destabilizing me a little bit is that there's this expectation that when they talk to me, there's certain things that I might say, or there's certain care that I might have of them, that I might take certain actions to them because the way the expectations of me. And because I'm a human, sometimes I might be like in a different space mentally because maybe my nanny just called me and there's something wrong, or maybe I'm completely tired because I've been on a 20-hour flight and I just want to go to bed, but they catch me on the way to the hotel room, so I might say something inappropriate, or like I might not see them, or God knows what. So I feel that there's this very high expectation of what I might do and what I might say that I'm not always capable of living up to. And that makes me also feel very sad.
It's a lot of pressure,
A lot of
but
pressure, yeah.
we're only human. It sounds like an episode of Black Mirror, but it does resonate with me because I mean, if you listen to a lot of podcasts, especially you become a fan of one, you know, you that person's in your ears so often, and this is a similar effect, right? And you're posting videos sometimes, like people just like I know Alina. It's like Jim Rohn used to say, you're the combination of the five people you spend the most time with, and if you follow certain people, you listen to them on video and audio, it does feel like you know them. But I would say on the receiving end, it feels like the Twilight Zone. So
It feels like a bit of a Twilight Zone for sure. I feel very lucky, obviously. I feel very lucky, but I just didn't expect at all the pressure from it, and I'm still learning to get used to it and accept it.
yeah, just be yourself at the end of the day, and sometimes yourself is not in the mood for it.
That's true, yeah.
All right, we talk about all these people who come up to you at the events.
Mm.
And I'm sure there's a lot of founders that you meet, right?
Mm.
And they want to be like you. And they ask you, I want to build my LinkedIn presence. What's your advice? What do you tell all those people who want to be you in 3 years?
I do get that question very, very often. And as a result, I started writing in a Notion doc everything that I've done so far and everything that has helped me, how I measure things, how I go about posting, what are the themes. Also, how I work with other influencers to amplify one another, how much I pay them, how I work with my partners also, and how we collaborate on certain posts. So I've put it all in a Notion doc that I will share so that I don't get the same question again and again.
Yeah, if you're willing to, we can share it when we publish the episode.
Sounds good. I can.
All right. So clearly a lot of people follow you on LinkedIn,
Mm-hmm.
but who do you follow? And who do you think is crushing it?
I think I follow thousands of people. I follow a lot of marketers. I follow a lot of CEOs that inspire me, a lot of heads of sales also, a lot of operators, content creators as well, just to see what they do and what like creative things that they do. I should probably put a list. If they put me on the spot, I would probably miss a lot of them. These days, let me think. I love Kyle Lacey. He posts about similar things with like me. I love Irina at Hootsuite, the CEO there. I love that she's also very authentic and raw. I love Emily Kramer. She's the co-founder at Marketing One. And Elena Verna. They post similar things that I learn a lot from. Jen Igartua, she posts very funny things, and I resonate with funny. So does Will Arad. I love it, Will. Funny people I love. They inspire me to be funny too.
Those are some good suggestions. I think a lot of people listening are looking for inspiration to carve out their own playbook. So thank you for that.
Oh, and Vin also. Vin also is a great content creator.
Vin Matano? Mm-hmm. Yes, I love his work style videos. It makes it look so easy. I tried to do one of those. It took me like hours, like all day. And then I was so disappointed when it really didn't get a lot of engagement. I'm going to try to post it again, but I thought it was pretty funny.
It's very hard. It's very, very hard. What he does is very hard, but he does it with ease, yeah.
Yes. Obviously, you spend a lot of time on LinkedIn. You know, what is a trend or something about LinkedIn, a feature that you just wish would go away?
Oh my gosh, there are a lot of things that I hate about LinkedIn. I hate that game of comment to get something, a link.
Oh, yes. Comment for this PDF. It's like the whole opt-in game, but just in the comments.
Oh my gosh, I hate that so much. And I see all these posts going viral, and then you get the PDF, and the PDF is something that could have been written in a post. And it didn't require the PDF to start with. It has made me feel very strong adversity to not reading it. So that game bothers me a lot. I think that they also try to repress certain words. So I can see that if you use certain words, you no longer get engagement on your posts. And I'm not quite sure which are the words that are triggering to their algorithm, but I noticed that for a fact that certain posts get less reach because of the words that are being used. And I wish.
Is there any word in particular that you have seen a pattern in?
Yeah, yesterday my co-founder posted about something funny. There was a glitch in the Apple algorithm where they would, when you do dictation and you'd say a racist, it would actually put Trump instead of racist. And it was just pointing to the article that was saying that Apple had a glitch. But I think that the word racist is triggering to the algorithm. Whenever you say it, it limits your reach. But it was just a funny thing that it happened to Apple. It wasn't like calling anyone out. It wasn't doing harm. I guess it was just something that they limit. And I just wish to understand how they do this simplifications versus the... Yeah, I wish I could understand it better, how they do the limitations there.
I guess that's why the algorithm is a black box.
I wonder if themselves understand it. Maybe they don't.
Anything else that grinds your gears about LinkedIn?
Those are the two things that are bothering me right now, but I also wish to understand myself, and maybe I would get to it at some point, how to do video better and how to utilize LinkedIn better for video. It's very hard, though. The video is very hard.
That's why I like the podcast, because it's more casual when you're just talking to somebody and you get nice clips. I'll make a couple for you if you want, if you need some video.
We'll test that.
You're pretty casual. This has been great. I just have one last question, and then we can wind things down. In its current state, do you think LinkedIn is overrated or underrated for founders, or any executive for that matter, who wants to build a brand and power their pipeline or business on it?
I think that LinkedIn is still a very good platform to invest in compared to others, because you have much better tools for targeting. In X, you have a very big pool. You can't say, I only want to target this particular accounts with these characteristics for when you amplify a post. Same with Instagram and same with TikTok. It's still hard to do proper targeting. So I think LinkedIn is still a very good platform, but I doubt that social media will be as big an amplification of content creators 5 years from now, because we will start trusting less and less what we see. Everything will start looking fake, because there will be a lot of AI avatars, there will be a lot of AI posts, and there will be a lack of authenticity, and people will only trust their friends. So the circles will be much smaller on social media. We will not have the kind of amplification that we have now. So I think that overall in 5 years, the social media will no longer look the same way as it does now.
Interesting. We'll have to circle back on that one in 5 years. So if social media or LinkedIn doesn't have the same impact for founders in 5 years, what will?
I believe strongly that there's a positive impact of that. I think that AI is not our destructor, but is our savior, because we will stop spending so much time scrolling and we will start getting back to real people in real life. And we will start craving for that connection in our local communities. So I very strongly believe in-person events, local communities, and having a strategy on that in person.
That is a wonderful prediction. So I just want to thank you so much for being generous with your time and insights. Is there anything exciting happening at Chili Piper or anything in your orbit that you want to promote and share?
Right now, my entire brain space is occupied by AI agents. That's all I think about. That's all I dream about. I'm obsessed with it. All of a sudden, we as humans, we can be orchestrators of agents that do stuff for us. You can put thousands of agents that create and organize and do all the stuff that's boring. So there will be a lot of those use cases that are built in my platform, and I talk a lot about it on LinkedIn. And I hope that as I'm sharing all the bots that we're building ourselves internally, people can refine them, and maybe they can get inspired to create their armies of agents internally as well and not get scared of them, but use them for things that excite them. So that's what I'm going to do in the following quarters on my LinkedIn profile.
We'll have to have everybody go check out Chili Piper. A lot of cool things with AI agents. And if you're living under a rock and you don't know who Alina is, make sure you go follow her. Thanks again, Alina. It's been real. It's a pleasure. And until next time, let's stay connected.
Thank you, Brad. And I hope to meet you in person soon as well, so that we see that we're real, right?
Yes, and we're not bots. We're not agents in the Matrix.
At least not yet.
If you enjoyed this episode, follow Brad and Spectimer on LinkedIn for hot takes and tactical executive branding advice. For the readers in the audience, subscribe to LinkedIn Famous on Substack. And if you really loved this episode, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the podcasting platform of your choice. Until next time, stay bold, authentic, and keep on creating.